Hey, Mr. Johansson again, showing a little bit about what some basic units in physics are. So look on the board behind me. How long is this blue line? How long is that blue line? Well, hold a meter stick up to it. That blue line is exactly 1 meter across. So what are some things that would be 1 meter? How about the height of a doorknob? If you look at a classroom door, is it about this high off the floor? About 1 meter off the floor? Yeah, it's about 1 meter off the floor. How wide is a typical desk, like a teacher desk? It's about 1 meter. All right, these are typical things. How tall is a typical high school student? Well, if I put a meter stick here and I put 2 meters is taller than I am. So what if we offered a choice of, is it 1 to the 0th meter, or 1 times 10 to the 0th meter, 1 times 10 to the 1th meter, 1 times 10 to the 2 meters, 1 times 10 to the minus 1 meter? Well, the high school student isn't any of those, right? But which is closest? Well, consider the 1 meter high high school. It's like just past my hips. Consider the, well, that's 1 times 10 to the 0th meters. What's 1 times 10 to the 1th meters? That's 10 meters tall. That's about 30 feet tall. Height of a 2-story building. You know any kids who are that tall? Me neither. 10 to the 2 is 300 feet tall. Yeah, we're getting a little ridiculous here. 10 to the negative 1th would be this tall. So again, now when we look at it that way, which one would be the closest measurement? Clearly 1 times 10 to the 0th meters, 1 meter tall, is closer than all of the others. At least you once were that tall. Post utero. All right, how about a basketball? Well, if that's a basketball and we measure it, it's about 0.2 meters across, something like that. And 0.2 meters, that's 2 times 10 to the minus 1th meter. That would be 0.2 meters. That would be the size of a typical basketball. And you'll see all these choices offered to you. Here is a kilogram. We use this as our standard unit of mass. Kilogram is equal to about 2.2 pounds. So a question might be, what's the mass of a single egg closest to? All right, how do you even do that? Well, 2.2 pounds. Is a dozen eggs similar to that? Well, it is. A dozen eggs is somewhere around 2 pounds of eggs. A dozen is close to 10. So that means 1 egg is about 1/10 of a kilogram, or 1 times 10 to the minus 1 kilogram for a single egg. So you do stuff like this. We're always trying to think of, well, how can I get down to what a single thing would be if it's a really tiny measurement? Here's a fun one. In this textbook, or in this book, Dictionary of Scientific and Technical Terms, it's over 1,000 pages. Right here is 1,000 pages of it. If I measure it with a centimeter ruler, it comes out to about, when I squish it, about 2.5 centimeters. But is this really 1,000 pages? Well, it starts on page 1, ends on page 1,000, but they're double-sided. So it's really 500 pages. So if 500 pages is 2.5 centimeters, how much would a single page be? Let's think about that. All right, so if 500 pages is 2.5 centimeters, 1,000 pages would be 5 centimeters. So if you look down here at what I've written, that hopefully maybe this will make sense to you. If 1,000 pages equals 5 centimeters, 100 pages, 1/10 of that, would equal 5 millimeters. We're cutting that down to 1/10. That would be 5 millimeters. There's 100 centimeters in a meter. There's 1,000 millimeters in a meter. So there's 10 millimeters in a centimeter. So I've cut that into tenths. So 5 millimeters for 100 pages. That would mean 10 pages are 0.5 millimeters. We're getting really thin now. Still certainly much thicker than a single page. So a single page would be 1/10 of that. 1 page is 0.05 millimeters. All right, so trying to make sense of things. A millimeter would be 1 times 10 to the minus 3 meters. So we're looking at stuff like that. So if we're down to 0.05 millimeters, millimeters. That would be 1 times 10 to the 4th meters. So we'd be looking at 5 times 10 to the minus 5th meters for a single page. So we have to get good at measuring quantities like that. This would represent, if you fill it to the top, that would be a liter. That would be our typical volume measurement. That's about a quart. So we'll think about all these things. You'll see them on Regents questions. Do your best estimation. It's a new way of thinking, but it's kind of fun. Good luck.